All right, sounds good, guys. Okay, so we start the 480 class or 4800 class. And as normal, I want to remind everyone, since this is the fall, okay, for some reason, I feel this year we start really early. It's much earlier than before. And so, but that's good. So I think everyone should come back on the track to get back to your study, but more importantly, your career. Okay, I never want to talk too much about getting a good grade, finish your course well, all of those. I think those are very, very basic and minimum requirement goals. And when I talk to the college student, I think we should always focus on the careers, the job applications. Eventually, I think how to measure your success or not during the college or after college is whether you got a very, very good job. All right. So for CS, I think I would expect everyone should target things like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, this kind of companies. All right. So that should be your focus. So with that, before we get into the 480 class, I still want to remind everyone. So I talk to this every single semester, and I'm pretty sure some of you know what I'm going to talk about. The most important thing for you to reach that goal is not really 4800. It's not this class, unfortunately. This class will give you a lot of help, and after you get a job, after you start to work, but unfortunately, it will not help too much before that in terms of the interview and then landing the offer. All right, so I will just be very honest. But this course can also be a little bit helpful to enrich your resume. I will talk about how. But then back to the interview, the most important process of getting your job offer is your algorithm and data structure skills, your coding skills. All right, so I assume everyone know more or less about the interview process. Okay, so you basically have to pass a bunch of the tech interviews, and then answer the questions, finish the coding, live coding, and so that they will move you to the next round and eventually give you the offer, right? So that whole process is very challenging. You need a lot of practice and exercises. Okay, so if your goal is to get a good job offer after you graduate or before you graduate, you need to spend tons of time on job application or tech interview practice. That's why I was asking about lead code, right? So just two things, just in case you don't know this yet. Okay, I assume that most of you already know the interview, how the process. The first one, if you don't know the whole interview process, okay, so this is the book for you to read, right? So this book has been there for over 10 years, actually, pretty famous, right? So I'm gonna send this link here to you first. Okay, so this is the Amazon link. However, if you scroll down a little bit, I guess there should be some PDF shows up. All right, so I'll just search for PDF. So yeah, a lot of people even posted it in the GitHub somewhere, but yeah, this book is pretty famous among all the CS majors and also the professionals. All right, so I'll just send this link here. I guess this should be the book. Okay. Yeah, so somebody just scanned the whole book. But anyway, so this book gave you some overview about the whole process. That's the part I really like. If you know nothing about the job interview, the tech interview process, and you definitely need to start with this book. And then after that, the second part of the book is about tech interview questions. If you don't know what kind of questions they could ask you, and you should take a look at that one first. Okay, but the questions here are very limited, and also the questions here are very it's been there for such a long time, you're never going to see those questions in actual interviews, but they serve a very good start for you if you know nothing about job interview or tech interview process. All right. Now, if you already know this, and then you should actually go to more challenging questions and do more exercises. Okay, though that book, one book is not enough. So the good website here is called LeetCode. I think there are some alternatives going on right now. Since this one, I think you need to pay. I don't exactly know what's the feature, what you get, with the pay or not. But you can basically, they have, does anyone know how many questions they have right now? All the problems. Let me see. They might have Yeah, 1,500 questions. I think when they just started, this lead code actually started when I was in grad school. That was 10 years ago. And that time it's not called lead code. It's called like 1337 code, something like that. It's actually a blog. But then this guy actually blog is so nice with very good explanation. So they actually got a lot of traffic. And then later on they rebranded, and now they have such a powerful platform for you to actually run things and test things by yourself. But anyway, so this website is for the ones who know the process, who have done quite a lot of exercises, then you should spend all of your, not all of your time, but a lot of your time on this website to practice, because eventually the tech interview process will be very, very similar to the question they say here, and the format also is similar. Okay, so if you want to focus on your jobs, careers, and this is the part that you must spend most of your time with. All right, this is number one most important thing. None of your courses is important as this one, because you already finished the 240 class algorithm data structures, and then you know the basic, so you can do all the coding and do the practice. All right. The reason I want to really highlight this one right now is you might feel that this is still kind of a late summer. We just get started. Why are we talking about jobs? Okay, so you need to know your timeline. Okay, a lot of you probably thinking about internships. Okay, the big company internship, I'm pretty sure they're still going to be open. All this Facebook, Google internship, Amazon internship, they do hire a lot of interns every year. But the timeline, you should be very clear. Okay, the internship happened in the summer, in May or June or July. But the application, I think it starts maybe right now or in another 1 or 2 months, normally in the fall, in early fall. Okay, they open their summer internship application, and then that's when you submit your resume. And then around the end of the year or early next year, January, they will start to do all the interviews. And then at that time, it's basically all about this type of algorithm questions. All right, so that basically the message I want to give you, that don't feel that you're just starting your semester. Okay, your job application, your internship application already starts. Okay, you want to get your resume ready. You want to get into this lead code and algorithm questions as soon as you can, and then get ready for all the interviews coming up. So speaking of the job market, again, I have no number to tell you exactly how it's getting better or worse, or how many opportunities. But one thing I'm pretty certain is there are still a lot of companies hiring in CS. Okay, so and you can tell like a lot of the industry related with CS actually got better because of the virus. So I think there's still a lot of opportunities. But no matter what, the interview will always be based on this kind of questions. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so 480 software engineering class is cool, useful, very practical, but that doesn't help you directly on getting a job. So plan yourself time on all of this. All right, cool. Any questions so far about the algorithm and job application? Don't ask me too deep in job application. Okay, we will spend more time to talk about that in the future, but just very basic, quick questions. Yeah, we'll talk about the stock. Yeah. All right, so let me actually start my slides here. Okay, talking about software engineering. Okay, so this is probably my favorite course, and I think I've been teaching this one since 2000, actually the second quarter back in 2015. So this is probably the 6th or 7th time I teach this one. And then the reason I like to teach this one is just because I personally like to work on software, okay? And then I work with a lot of you actually already in different courses, in mobile, I can't remember where I met you guys before, but again, when I see the names, I think I still see most of you, most of the new names, okay? I can only remember some of the names from the summer and the past spring. But, it's good to know everyone here, but I really like coding. I actually started my coding really early, really young. And when I was in the 4th or 5th grade, that was late 90s. And then, but then since then, I just keep doing programming, and I chose computer science major. I did grad school, and I worked in the industry and did some startup. After that, come back to Cal Poly in 2014. And then since then, I still trying to be active in coding and do different projects. I really like to making something useful, different kind of software. It doesn't really matter what types. Okay, just to share some of the cool project I did before or I got involved. Now this is the team project we did in Siemens, and it was pretty cool because this was back in 2009 or 2010. We're actually writing the software for this electrical car built by Siemens. And obviously Siemens is really not focusing on the car like Tesla, but Siemens was focusing on the energy. They want to see how do they do the smart grid and then try to enable a better transition of all the energy to support electrical car. But they need a prototype of the car, and then we were writing the software for this car. We use some of the cool technology to use the model to generate the code, and then so that we don't have to touch the very low level embedded code used for the car. So you try to write this software, it's normally in C, which is a very low level, not much fun to me. But then we were using a lot of this high level model to describe what kind of function we want and then how we want to interact with different components using the car. We also did another very interesting project with another German company, Mercedes. They have a big plant in the US, and then they use so many of these robots, as you can imagine. But the robot need a program, and we did a lot of software to optimize the sequence to ensure the safety and to basically improve the overall efficiency of the robot working plan. I started my first career in Amazon, and so we worked in this very cool project called Amazon Silk. It's a browser, but then we did a lot of the cool features to use cloud computing to support a browser, to make the browser faster and then to provide a better experience. And the basic idea is we actually use a lot of these servers in the cloud to power your browser. For example, when you try to load something on your phone, right? And one very cool feature is that let's say that you are in a very remote area. You don't have a good signal. You don't have Wi-Fi. It's really slow. And you're trying to load this website with very, very rich content. For example, CNN.com, Facebook, right? So they got a lot of images and pictures and so many pages and CSS files. It's going to take a lot of time when you don't have a fast internet. But at this time, we can actually send requests to the cloud. So instead of having your phone to load all of those files and resources, we use this cloud servers to load them for you, because the cloud servers have a really good internet connection, and then they can also have better CPU than your phone. So they load everything, and then they send those things and push those things back to your phone. So even though it runs a very indirect process, but it actually turned out to be faster than your phone loading it directly if your Wi-Fi or internet is not very good. Okay, so that's just a very cool example on how you can use cloud technology, cloud computing to support the traditional software. Okay, later on we did some of the startup project. This one is about a mobile AR that you take a picture, we recognize some of the object and then show this overlays on pictures. As you can see, there are different kind of use cases. You can go, like, let's say you walk on a street and then take a picture of all the stores, and then we can maybe show some of the Yelp reviews. We can pop up some of the coupons, and you can click on that and then just to retrieve the information in a much more user-friendly way. Okay, I worked a little bit on the cybersecurity side of the wall. We did this modified Android operating system that allows admins to control the phones, how the phones will be used, in what kind of a situation, and what kind of permission do we give to the users. Okay, that was also a very cool project. And then after that, we did another startup on indoor navigation. The problem we're trying to solve is, when you go, when you are outside, you're driving, right? Google Map, that give you a perfect navigation. But when you are in the indoor, the GPS normally doesn't work. And also the GPS doesn't tell you which floor you're at. So we built this indoor navigation using a totally different technology. We actually did a lot of Bluetooth technology and some of the machine learning algorithm trying to predict where you are, and then we'll show you this kind of a navigation route, right? So we apply this technology to different areas, like convention centers, hotels, and also most importantly, the hospitals, right? some of the recent project we did in the past years, this one with a startup company. The startup company actually goes really well. We started work with them in 2017. They're doing the email tracking, basically a tool to help sales and marketing people to track their customers. For example, you send an email. How do I know if you open the email or not, right? So this is actually, there is a very old technology called pixel tracking that allows you to do this pretty easily. So they were building the software around this area. So you can Google pixel tracking. Basically, the idea is that when you're sending an email to somebody, now we could actually attach a 1x1 pixel image at the bottom of your image, at the bottom of your email, and you can make that pixel transparent or white so people can't really see it. However, when people are opening the email, then they're going to open that little pixel image, and then that image can be, obtained from your server. So then your server will know actually somebody is trying to load this little pixel, right? So that's how you can tell if people are opening your email or not. So it's a very simple, but it's a really practical technology that allows you to do something really useful. Because for sales and marketing people, knowing somebody to, like, if they're interested in the email or not, help them to narrow down the target customers, right? This is a more kind of early stage project. We did this kind of project to measure the stress level. So as you can see, this is the kind of a design we had, but we didn't make this prototype. We had but we do have a prototype. It's just not that nice at this one, but it takes a little bit of your Salava, and then we can do some analysis and then to measure how stressful you are, just to try to get people to take a break and then to manage your stress in a better way. Okay. This one here is a kind of web service project we've been working very heavily recently. So we're building some kind of platform to manage students' projects, to manage some of the education. So to some extent, it's similar to Blackboard, but this is mostly for the younger kids, for them to learn coding. So I've been also working very actively in the CS education. And but yeah, we're also spending a lot of time to build this whole web service. Right, so this is more kind of a web-based project. Right, so a lot of projects are related with research. Some of those are more practical. With the we're also trying to do some kind of startups. So I'm personally very interested in all kind of different applications. Okay, I'm not too much into the series and the research. I can do research, but to be honest, I don't really enjoy doing that too much. I like focus on the reality, the real problems, and see how we can build different solutions. To me, it really doesn't matter whether we do mobile app, web application, or AI, because today all of this are pretty easy to do. So I think it's a very good time to build something on your own. Even today by yourself or by a team of two, you can actually build so much more than you expected, because even we talk about AI and also the some of the very advanced deep learning algorithms. You start to see more and more of these companies open source those models. They build tools for you to run it. You don't really need to know anything about the algorithm. You can take it and use it. So what really matters at the end is you focus on the problem to solve and build something practical. So I'll talk more about those in the next class. All right. But anyway, I do have a lab, in our department. Not sure if you've been to other labs. I think we have a cybersecurity lab. I think some other faculty also have some lab. I do have this lab, but I don't think the website is running, even though I really like my logo here. But then we don't have a space. We can have a space, but literally nobody really go to meet regularly. However, if you are ever interested in building some of these applications or do some kind of research project, feel free to let me know, and then we kind of we'll try to organize more of those things. Especially right now online, I think everyone probably needs something cool to work on. So just feel free to reach me out. All right. So anyway, so these are just a little bit background about myself, and I just want to tell you that I like writing code and build software, and hopefully you can also get something done by the end of this semester. All right. Okay, so let's keep talking, and always I like to talk more about the industry. okay? Because normally the ones who are taking the class right now, like you guys, are mostly seniors and are mostly graduating within 1 or 2 semesters, okay? So that's typically the case. So that's why I really want you to start to think about this, okay? The bottom line is, if you start to prepare a job application right before you graduate, that's too late, okay? In general, you should know that for CS major, if you want to get a decent offer, I think I don't have the number. My feeling is that you need somewhere from 3 months to 12 months. I think on average, I think you will need about 6 months, 3 to 6 months. That's a very, very minimum requirements. Okay, you should never expect that you go to the job market, you send a resume, in 2 weeks you got an offer. Okay, I know a lot of you actually, I don't know how many, okay, but I do work with a lot of our students, really good students, and then they used to work in things like restaurant, in warehouses, in all these little small, I would call it small businesses, non-IT industries, right? Those jobs, you probably can get it on the same day if you want, okay? But it's totally different for CS. The main reason is for CS, they pay a lot more, okay? Every company, when they give you the whole package, like today, a software engineer normally you will start around $100,000 per year. That's only the salary part. For the company side, they still need to afford your benefits, your insurance, a lot of other things. That actually adds another, at least $30,000 on top of that. So it is a very big investment from the company. So they're not gonna like to hire a waiter or waitress randomly and then just get you on board and do it. Okay, so that's why this kind of job is gonna take a lot longer, but once you get it, it's gonna be a very, very good job. All right, so that's why you should actually really need to start to think about that and then prepare right now. Okay, even though I'm in the 480 class, but I just want to tell you this one, because if you mess up this timeline, if you don't do the enough preparation, no matter what you get from 480, A plus, triple A, okay, it won't help. All right, so you need to be planning these things for yourself. All right, but I just want you to know that the industry. Okay, I asked this question, like how good the industry is right now this year, right? I asked this question since 2014 when I started to teach here. I want students to know the job market, because I came from the industry. I worked there for a couple of years. I did startups, and then I've been through a lot of interviews before. And then now since I've been working here since the past 5 years, I know so many students who graduate from Cal Poly, because I'm mostly teaching the 400 level courses. So actually, I do know more students who graduate than probably most other faculties. I actually rarely teach the 100, 200 courses, very rarely. So that gave me a lot of opportunity to see how students are doing, where do they go, and how hard for them to find a good job, right? So I think obviously, if not the virus, the whole industry is still really, really good. There's no question about it. So we ask this one every year, and every year, because the things are going so well, and some students may say, oh, I read something that there might be some bubble right now in the IT industry. The stocks are too high, or maybe it's not really as good as last year, because the last year was so good, and then maybe it's the same. It's not much changes. So people are always a little bit conservative about this market. However, the truth is, if we look at the stock price, it's pretty much consistent with the stock price. The truth is the industry is still growing, and it's still growing really fast. Okay, we're not only talking about software industry, not other industries. Okay, so some of the signs I want you to see. Okay, so I try to update these slides every year, because every year in the fall, we're gonna have a new iPhone. When we were in a quarter system, normally by the time we start this course, you actually see the new iPhone came out. But now in the semester, you can't really see it. I can only Google and search for some of the rumors. But this is a kind of an annual big news for the whole world. Okay, so we're not really talking about Apple. We're not talking about iPhone. But I just want to remind you that this type of news already start to impact everybody for the whole world. More and more people are starting kind of caring about this one. And that actually means a lot. Okay, so if everybody start to pay attention to this kind of technology, that means the technology has such a deep impact to everyone's life. And that means all the other companies need to invest more on technology, on software. And at the end, that means they will need more CS majors. There will be more high paid jobs. All right. So these are the things you should get. Okay. If you see people are crazy about this new product, okay, no matter whether it's the iPhone or the competitors from Google, and you should feel lucky about it, because that just means that there will be more needs on CS, on software development. All right. All these big companies the same. They try to create new innovations. Okay, not much going on in the past year from Amazon side. I'm very familiar with Amazon. But 2 or 3 years ago, they had this Amazon Go. I don't know how many of you actually seen that. They have this, grocery store without people, and they use computer vision to track what you're taking, automatically check out for you from your account. And some of this echo, this are old stuff. Okay, so but not much going on in the past year. Maybe I missed something, but not really the big product. They do have a lot of new technologies on the cloud computing, but not sure about some of this new breakthrough ideas going on. Okay, but I'm not surprised they're going to have something else pretty soon. All right, so because all these big companies, they're trying to create this new domains, new product, new applications, and then to track new users and then get more traffic. Okay, now recent years, pretty much everyone is talking about AI and machine learning. Okay, so I don't know how much you know about this one. I just want you to know that these things sound difficult, but when you're trying to use this, it's getting easier and easier. And you don't really need to understand every single detail about the algorithm, but you just need to know how to apply those models to integrate those into the application. So I don't want you to just like research on the algorithm to know how it works. What really matters about AI, machine learning, and also any other software technology is how could you actually use those. All right. So, but my point here on AI is not to say how popular AI is. I want you also to see that it's very interesting. At least for me, I actually started to see more people from out of the CS field talk this one, like more often than the CS majors. For us, like AI machine learning kind of, for us, it's very natural. Okay, so some algorithm, some program, some libraries. But when you talk to people who are not in the CS field, they actually seem to be much more excited about AI. They would say, oh, AI is going to replace this one. AI is going to replace that one. And this job is not going to be existing anymore. For us, we know that's probably, too ideal, right? So there's still a long way to go. But the general public are so excited about this whole AI. So that's why every single industry try to do this, and finance, medical, and any of the field you can think about, right? So they're thinking about, oh, can I use AI to automate this? Can I use AI to replace human worker, right? So all of this, I think, again, create opportunity back to CS, because if you want to build AI, well, you need to write a code and you will need CS major. So I think that's the message you should get from this whole AI trend and popularity. Okay, it just means more opportunities. Very similar to the mobile computing 10 years ago. At that time, every single company tried to make an app. Okay, so who's going to make an app? So software engineer and CS majors. So hopefully this AI trend will be the next big move. All right. And then, so just from all these big companies, all this tech trend, you can tell the things are going really good. Okay, and the best sign will be to look at the stock price. All right, so I'm not really a financial expert. I really can't tell you whether this stock price is too high or how much bubble there are or when it's going to collapse. I have no idea. And then, but if you look at this trend here, okay, let's just take a look at this NASDAQ index. Okay, NASDAQ is normally the market where the tech startups go to public first. Okay, so most of the tech company you can think about, Facebook, all of those. Okay, they are in NASDAQ market. Okay, so if you look at the whole history of this market, okay, and we have no idea about what happened here. Okay, but I don't know if you heard about this 2000 internet bubble. I can tell you I only heard about it. I had no idea what's going on. Okay, but it sounds like everyone want to try to create a website, and then it's just a lot of bubble. Most of the websites don't make money. Okay, but however, at that point you can see the point. The index was 4,700, almost 5,000 points. Okay, and then after that it collapsed. All right, and then this is the last recession. Okay, in 2009, 2008. Okay, that's very low, like 1,800 points. All right, so that's basically what happened, 20 years ago. Now, I started joining Cal Poly in 2014 around this period of time. Okay, I think that's the time. So at that time, it's very interesting. It's 4,600. So I was talking to our students to say, oh, the job market is so good. Why? Because you see now the stock market has been growing since the past 4 or 5 years, and now it's almost as high as the previous peak. All right, and then a year later, I started telling them, okay, it's already past the previous peak. And every year I told them, oh, there's a new high, a new high, a new high. Until today, believe it or not, I didn't actually watch the stock price in the past months. It's unbelievable. Okay, I can't really say if this is the bubble or not. Probably most people will think this is the bubble, but it's already like so much higher than before. Even like after this, in March there was a hit in the stock market. Some people probably seen that. But after that, it quickly comes back, all right, consistently, very, very healthy, very consistent. And then if you got something, if you buy something, let's not worry about you buy something here. If you buy something just right before the virus and now you just, okay, some of those got doubled or tripled within only 3 or 4 months, okay? However, again, we're not talking about making money with stock. Take my advice, okay? When you don't have a lot of money, when you are still very, very young, okay, don't spend your time on stock market, okay? Don't feel that you're a sales trader, you're very smart, you can make money, you can write a program to do this. It doesn't work, okay? The whole game is much more complicated than you thought. It's totally not something you can easily control. Besides, if you don't have a lot of money, I don't think it's worth to spend too much time. You can put that for long term. That's my advice. Long term is okay, but the short term game, it's cost you too much money and too much risk, and then you don't really get much. And then when you are young, you should focus on something more, I think, concrete. Okay, but this one does shows us the market. Okay, especially if you look at some of these companies. Okay, Facebook, I care this one a lot, and then because one of my friends, they went public around the 2012. And they start with $38. And then half a year later, my friend joined a company at one of the lowest point, like this point here, I think $22. And then he was very excited one day. He was working at Amazon at that time. And then he came back. Next morning, he seems really excited. I know something going on. And then he said, oh, Facebook gave me the offer. And then I said, well, how good the offer is. And then he said the base salary was 140,000, but the stock, then they gave me, I think, 500K worth of stock. So 500K, at that time, that was this price, okay, $20 to $25. Okay, so basically, 500K, and then divide by 25, let's say. So they gave him 20,000 shares, okay, worth of stock. And then if you use that one to times 266, so right now it's a $5 million, okay? So that's pretty 10 times more than that time, okay? That's only like a little bit less than 10 years. I bet he didn't sell any of the stocks. If you work in the company, if you see this kind of trend, there's no motivation for you to sell the stock. I'm pretty sure he keeps the stock 100%, and then he's doing the company. All right, so that's at least $5 million. Also, this guy, I have told you that this is not a, I'm not talking about a senior director or VP, okay? I'm just talking about a regular software engineer, okay? That's what you got from software engineer. And pretty much that kind of allows him to retire, I think, if he wants, okay? So that's basically what this trend actually brings you with. All right, so it was a really good past 10 years. So again, we don't really know what's going to happen next year. However, I'm not too concerned that if you look at this IT and tech companies, okay, after this virus hit in March, they come back really quickly and pretty easy to understand, okay? No matter how many people are criticizing Facebook, but people staying home, this is the company that's going to benefit from it. All right, another one, Amazon. All right, so when I was in the company, it was around here, $200. And there was one point actually it goes to 250, I think. Yeah, probably somewhere here. Yeah, somewhere here. that people were very, very nervous inside company. They said, oh man, this is too high. And Amazon, because Amazon doesn't really generate a lot of profit. Actually, they have a lot of cost. Their stuff very cheap, right? Their revenue is high, but their margin is not high as Google or other companies. So we feel that this is very dangerous. And actually, a lot of people actually, I know they sold the price, they sold the stock, but right now, if you look at this again, especially again after the virus, okay, this is the March stock hit, and after that they kind of doubled within only 3 months. Now you should think about right now the double is from $1,800 to $3,000. All right, and then that's just another example on how the virus actually helped these tech companies. Very easy to understand, and because people are actually spending more money in Amazon. Okay. So Google, same thing. If you look at their price, also come back and then goes up, and Apple and all the other companies. So I don't want to go through all these examples. However, if you look at the NASDAQ market, most of the tech companies, and they're not really impacted too much, and they are actually having a very good time right now. I'll tell you, because people are just spending more time online. Okay, another one to look at is Snapchat. So Snapchat didn't go very well after the IPO. All right, so this is our IPO. I think after that it keeps declining. Okay, I have some of the friends actually who quit the company because they don't see the hope in the stock. But here you can see after this hit, and then it just went up, and then actually more than before, and also very easy to understand because this one, basically the virus forced everyone to spend more time with online tool. All right. So anyway, I just want to give you some confidence. All right. For the whole tech industry, it is still going really well, and there is still opportunity. If you see the company grows like this, that means they need to do more work, and then that means they will need to hire more. And I don't know about other companies, but I do know Amazon, they're hiring crazily. I still got emails from Amazon probably every 2 weeks, ask me to do the interviews. All right, so don't worry too much. I do know that the small business maybe got a little bit impact. Maybe you don't see a lot of those going on because for startups and the small business, even software, is probably still very difficult. But for the big ones, the overall IT sector, I think it's okay. It's still doing pretty good. All right, just try to give you some confidence from the stock. But I'm not really asking you to buy stock. Okay, don't do that. It's already very, very high. And then the main downside I see is it just takes too much of your time because it's like gamble, right? So you every day you're gonna pull your phone to look at the number, and you're not gonna do anything else. That's the I think the most problem, the biggest problem when you are doing the stock as very young people. Okay, all right. So these are some of the things going on. I updated the slide in the beginning. I just tell people, okay, how much valuation Uber has, and then now Uber already IPO. Obviously, they're not very lucky this year. Airbnb is trying to fire IPO very recently, and they're actually going all right actually. So it's not really as bad as people thought. They got hit in the beginning, but now I think I at least I see a lot of friends start to actually go out to take Airbnb rather than hotels. Okay. Snapchat already went IPO, but all of these are great startups. Okay, that's another kind of thing you want to see that for the whole startup field. All right, and it's still very, very hot. Okay, there are so many accelerator programs. Okay, the most famous one is the Y Combinator. Some of you probably know about that. And they raise and they help the startup teams in the early stage and try to help them to get a nice prototype, nice version, and raise money from investors. So some of the most of these companies are from YC, the Y Combinator, like Airbnb, Stripe, DoorDash. They're all like YC-based companies. So they all started from a very small team, and eventually they grow to some point even to IPO. All right. So again, from all these startups, you can also tell how popular it is to do the software, to do the internet and mobile, AI, all of the stuff. So, but it all comes back to the CS major. The job market, this is kind of old data, but I don't have to convince you. Okay, so definitely most number of opportunities, and then I won't say the highest paid, but it's definitely, I think it's definitely among the top 3. Okay, if we talk about the pay, 10, 20 years ago, okay, I think doctor, lawyers get more paid than at least doctors easily beat the software engineers. But not the case today. Okay, I remember when I was in grad school, I was 2009, and I was talking to one friend who is graduating from medical school, and then he was very humble, and he said, "Oh, my major is not very good. I think he's doing some kind of a neuroscience type of thing. I don't know the medical term." Okay, so I was asking, also, can he says, what is your salary? I'm very curious. And then he said, I'm just starting. My major is not like a surgeon. It's not like a brain surgeon type of major. So that kind of makes a lot of money. Mine is just, internal medicine, neuro stuff. So my starting salary will be like $170,000. Yeah, that was 10, 12 years ago. That was very, very high because at that time, for software company, you can only probably get 80,000, 90,000. Pretty much the doctor get double of what you're getting. And also, I believe that's not the best doctor field. Some doctor can easily make much more than that. But today, if you look at the situation, it's not really the case. If you go to Silicon Valley, it's really easy for you to get a base salary between 150K to 200K after a couple years experience. But what's more significant is the stock. When you go to doctor, you will not have stocks, okay? But when you go to the tech companies, you will get stocks. And all these big companies have been growing so well. A lot, it's very, very common that stock kind of grow 10 times more. Very common, okay? And if you stay in the company for 5 years. So to that extent, your benefits, your salary, everything, I won't say it's overall higher than doctor, but it's already comparable to each other. All right. So I think that's something you should also know about how lucky you are to be a CS major and why is the decision you made, 3 or 4 years ago when you choose the CS major. All right. Not to mention some of this stuff, okay, but then you don't see this very often right now. Everyone stay at home, but in general, the tech companies have much more environment, cool place to work with. Okay, so these are all the cool stuff about the industry. Okay, so hopefully I gave you some of the enough motivation and a little bit background about the whole industry, what it looks like, what's the job market, what's your goal. But my point here right now is that don't worry about the situation because there are worse fields and majors than CS. CS should be among the best, okay, because it's the least impact field. But I won't say it will be always good because if all the other industry goes down and then nobody's going to use and pay your software and internet services, so you still be impacted. But I think that will be the least one. All right. Okay, so any questions so far, guys? All right. So yeah, make sure you get ready and make a plan, okay, for your career. All right. So a little bit, just a very, very high level introduction to software engineering. So what are we going to learn? Okay. Now this is a very, very formal definition about software engineering coming from books and papers. And then the best definition is the first paragraph I put here. Okay. So it really summarized what are we trying to do here. Okay, everyone knows how to write code. Everyone knows Java, Python, C++. But what about software engineering? So we're trying to see how can we help to make sure the product software is, remember this red words, okay, fault free, basically no bugs. And you want to make sure you can always deliver your system on time. And also you don't spend extra money. And lastly, also the most important part is it actually satisfies what the user wants. All right, so keep in mind, bug-free, on time, within budget, and also satisfy the user needs. Right. So this sounds really straightforward, of course, right? When I decide to do a project, of course, I want to do this. But things get much more difficult than you saw, depending on the scale. All right, so when you work really a big project with 10 people or more, getting to this one is almost impossible, I have to tell you. And nobody can say there's no bug, right? So it's impossible. And then on time, you guys been doing all different kind of projects. You probably know what that means. Okay, rarely you can hit things on time. And when you are going overtime, that means you're going over budget because you have to pay people more. And then the last one, you probably don't think too much, but in reality, it's very difficult to make sure that the things you're delivering always satisfy what the user wants. All right, so we'll talk more about it, but this is the goal of learning software engineering. So we want to teach you the methodologies and the best practices you should follow. So hopefully you can reach to these goals. So hopefully you will not go over time so that you don't have to pay too much extra. And then when the users start to use your software, it is the software that they want to use. All right. So that's basically the goal of software engineering. All right. And then Nu had a question, job seeking. Yeah, I'll probably share more about those. My job seeking is very straightforward, guys. Lead code. Okay. At that time, I started with the Cracking the Code interview book, and I do. I don't think I did the lead code question at that time. I look at lead code. At that time, it's not called lead code. I look at some of their answers, but I think I was also looking at some of the like career cup questions, because career cup, the website careercup.com, you can take a look at that one, and they have the company from questions people posted from specific questions. For example, somebody did an interview, then they will tell people that oh, I had this question, so somebody summarized all this question online. So I think I will use that one. But again, back to the question, very, very standard way of job seeking. Everyone is probably doing the same thing. There's no exception. All right, just get on the phone interview, finish a couple coding questions, another phone interview, another couple questions, and then they bring you on site, and 4 or 5 questions, and then they give you an offer or they reject you. All right, so pretty similar. All right, so I'll share more about those, but basically algorithm and lead code questions. All right. So that was the theory. Okay, so in reality, I want to show you what are the things you need to know. When I talk about the practice methodology, what does it mean? All right, so I will use a very, very concrete example. For those of you who have done internships or we work with some of the professional team in the industry, you probably know this is a kind of the same process. But I'm going to use this example back in 2012. I worked in Amazon for exactly 1 year, actually a little bit less 1 year. So I was working on this Kindle Fire browser, like this version 2.0. And when I joined the team, they already had a 1.0. We were doing the 2.0. So what happened that whole year? All right. So to work on this kind of project, and you basically are working with a team. This team had 30 people at that time, and 10 people handle the front end, 10 people handle back end, 10 people handle some other like data related features and operations. So normally when you start a project like this, okay, the first thing you need to know is about requirements. So basically, what are we going to do? All right. So the requirement could come from your bosses. It can also come from the customers. All right. So in Amazon, obviously, they focus a lot on the customer. So we'll talk more about this one next time. So we get a lot of features, requirements from customers, and also from the upper level people. And for example, okay, we want to make this faster, and then they don't have a private mode, and then they don't have a way to easily save and share the bookmarks, all of those. So we list all of those, and then we talk about requirements, we decide what we work on, right? But that's going to be a long list. And then what we need to do is we need to have the right approach to prioritize this one. And then after that, we need to have a good planning on how can we finish this one and how many of this we can finish. All right. So we need to have a specific plan and then decide what to do for the next year, for the next quarter, and also next month. Eventually, we need to break it down to every single cycle. Now, the cycle could be 1 week, could be 2 weeks, or 3 or 4 weeks. And 2 weeks is a little bit more common. So this whole cycle concept comes from this development project called Agile development. So that's going to be the core concept you need to know from this course. How do you work with the team to make a software using Agile development? Okay, so the Agile development is the most popular approach used by the industry. Pretty much 95% of companies and teams are using Agile development. There's no exceptions. All right, so Agile development focuses a lot of concept that push everyone to move fast, to to try things quickly, to get feedback quickly. So that's why they break down your development cycle into smaller cycles, into 1 week, 2 weeks, and then they check all the progress, demo all the feature, deliver the feature very quickly. All right, so we'll talk more about this one. This is the core part of this course. Okay, how do you work with your team using the Agile development approach? All right, so but for part of the thing we need to do here is we need to do a lot of meetings and plannings to decide what to work on, who is going to take on what kind of feature. And then after that, so at the individual software engineer, well, your job will need to go to implement it. And before you implement, you need to know how to do the design. And after you implement it, you need to know how to do the testing. And you need to know how to do the code review. All of those. These are the basic practices in the software development process, which you don't really do very often when you're working on your own homework. But in the professional world, these are the things you need to do besides just writing the code. And then after that, you need to know how do you build your software? How do you deploy your software? All right, so when you try to run it, you don't really always run it in Eclipse, right? You need to put that on the server, but how? And how many servers do I need? Is that enough? And how do I manage different versions? What if one version goes wrong? How do I go back? Right. So these are all the topics that you need to know from the software engineering side. How do you manage your software to make sure things are going all right? Yes, continued integration is part of the Agile development, right? And then during the whole process, you will have a lot of meetings. Every day you have a daily stand-up meeting. Every cycle, we call it sprint. We have a sprint meeting. At the end of the cycle, we have also another meeting called reflection. So basically try to review what we have done, if there's anything we can improve. All right, and then you release your product, you release your version. But that's not the end of your job, okay? Remember, when you work on software, there is no end to your software, okay? Any software you can update. That's how you've seen all the software, Windows 7, 8, 10, right? And then all the games, all the apps, every day in the morning, you start to see some new updates. People are constantly working on that, right? So same thing for here. So after you release your software, you will need to know how do you monitor. If your software involved with internet services, users, is everything going all right? Do we see a lot of latency? Do we see a lot of crashes? And then how do we fix them? And then how do we maintain to do some of the daily maintenance work? Clean up logs, for example, check out all the securities and make sure every configuration is still up to date, all of those. At the same time, we need to plan for the next release, next feature. So in the software world, you always go with these cycles, one after another, to produce the version one after another. All right. So that's pretty much what you would do inside a company. But every single step I mentioned here involves some tools, involves some methods, involves some meetings, involves some best practices. All right. So that's what we want to introduce to this course. So this course is not going to have a lot of series. Okay. I'm actually using a very, very practical approach to teach this course. Which is not very common. When I was in the undergrad and grad school, we didn't do software engineering this way. There are some of the very theoretical books there. It's pretty much useless. For example, when I go to my first internship, I didn't even know what version control is. And nowadays, you guys all know Git. You know how to do GitHub. At that time, we didn't use Git, but there are tons of other tools, but I didn't even know what version control is. I never used that one. But that should be something we teach in software engineering course, but nobody told me that. So when I'm trying to design this course, I created all the topics totally by myself. I didn't use any of the textbook. I pretty much just think about, okay, what I did in Amazon. And then I just cut all these practices and then put together a course. And so that's why I'm pretty confident that this course is super helpful once you start to work in the company, because pretty much everything I tell you right now is what they're doing. Even though I'm not in the industry in the past 4 or 5 years, but I'm still very fresh on things going on. I still have friends that know what they're doing. And then, so also I have to tell you that I got so many feedback every single year. The student who graduate and started work and email me back and tell me, oh, this thing actually is pretty cool, useful, that's very helpful, all of this. But again, these are more helpful after you start to work, okay? But your first goal is to get this job offer first. All right, so let me briefly talk about the syllabus, guys. I think I forgot to, let me actually see, okay, let me find the syllabus. I think I already have it here. I just didn't put it in the Blackboard, sorry about that. Let me actually do it right now before I forget. All right, so that you guys can go ahead to take a look. All right, so if you want, feel free to log into Blackboard and find out the syllabus. All right, so let's go through this really quickly. These are the basic information. All right, so I think, yeah, I think this office hour still works. So right after the class and before the next class, I think I'm generally open. And then I could try to open like a Zoom meeting somehow. But then the best way, guys, is feel free to stay after the class. If you got any questions, private, not private, it doesn't matter. That's the easiest way we can chat. Okay, after the class, if you want to talk about more privately, we can create a breakout room. That's the easiest way. Okay. Otherwise, feel free to email me and to ask for time. If you want to chat more things, we can also do phone calls. Anything works. We can also do some other things that we can try Discord stuff. I know everyone is on Discord. I haven't used that one too much, but yeah, that's also something we can try. All right. And then again, the goal I already mentioned that we want to show you the practical side of the software engineering. Make sure that you know all the tools and approaches, methodologies, and practices people are using, so you can be ready to join a professional team to do the development. And then this is kind of requirement we normally put here in Java, but nowadays it's not too important. I assume that everyone still knows Java, but you don't have to use Java. That's okay, because it's been changing so much. All right, and then 2400s are prerequisite. I guess everyone already has it. We don't use textbook. I rarely put textbook in any of the courses. Okay, so most things are online. You can actually Google and find. So the coursework, pretty straightforward. All right, team project, that's the most important. And after that, you will have some of the assignments. And the assignment will help you to finish your team project. So it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, same thing. You need to finish a project. Now for the project, so we will, it's a team project. All right, the reason is this is a software engineering course, and we want you to work with the team. In general, I think everyone should know that the team project is less efficient, especially when you do the college in a team project. Nobody pretty much do the work, or one or two person does most of the work. That's very typical. That's why teamwork is very challenging. And for software engineering, a lot of the tools we teach you will be more kind of helpful when you work with a team. So that's why we want you to try that in practice. So you must have a team. All right. So since we have a lot of students, I would highly recommend 5 students at a team. Okay. Try to hit 5. Okay. 4 is fine, but 4 to 5. Okay. Don't come and ask me 6 or 3. Okay. It doesn't work, because 3 is you got a too small team. You're not gonna face some of these challenges. 6, pretty much the team will be not working very well. Okay. So maybe half the team won't do much things with the 6 people. All right, 4 or 5, it's okay. Either way is fine. Okay. And then so you need to, okay, so speaking of that, we need to think about a way to let you to communicate, because normally you guys can chat after the class, for the one who sit close, you guys got a team. Okay. So any recommendation on how we can communicate this one? I know the Blackboard has some kind of a chat thing, the discussion board. Is that one helpful? Yeah. Yeah, let's do Discord. Okay, can anyone actually? Since I know Jimmy, okay, Jimmy, could you help to build a Discord server, whatever you call it, and then send it to us? Or it's better I do it. Yeah, Jimmy, you can do it because I haven't really figured out how that works, and I can join that one. Okay, so yeah, I'll post the link there so that you guys can figure out a team. All right, so very important. You want to make sure you have a good team. It doesn't matter if you know the team members very well or not, and so it's your preference. Okay, if you want to know something new, try to get some new members. All right. And so the team will be, this will be a web service project. So I have a very specific requirements here, okay? It must be a web service. So we'll talk more about this one next time. Web service basically is web-based. It's not an app, okay? We don't do mobile app. You can't just only show an app. You can have an app component, but then you still need to have the web service application part. Okay, there's a reason because the mobile app is relatively a simpler type of software. The web service is the most complicated type of software you ever can build. So I want you to experience all the challenges and the tools that can support you to the web services. All right, so we'll talk more about the ideas, all of those. We don't have too much requirement on idea, but the project itself must be a web service application. All right. And then assignments. So we'll have about 10 assignment, not maybe a little bit less than that. These assignments are not extra. So as we go through all the topics, for example, today we talk about version control. Your assignment will be go to find, to check in some of your code to GitHub, and that's part of your assignment. So the assignments contributes to your project. It's just to make sure that you know how to use certain tools in practice, okay? And then this is just part of your project. Or you can think about this one as kind of milestones that you need to actually at some point get to certain stages, all right? The final exam is really not a final exam. I'm normally just send a survey. Two purposes. One is to kind of get more feedback from all of you, but more importantly, I want to make sure that everyone is contributing. Okay, so because I want to see from the teammates' point of view on how everyone is contributing to the project. So we don't want to see somebody actually did 80% of the project and the rest of the team didn't do anything. Okay, so that's the purpose of this survey. Okay, it's not really a real exam, so don't worry. So your most important exam is the final presentation, the project presentation, which will happen probably 2 weeks before the end of the semester. Okay, so these are the score assignments, distribution stuff. I need to speed up a little bit. All right, and then these things are just rated. All right, so schedule here. Okay, pretty much I think this is going to be very accurate. All right, so we start a introduction. Next time I'll talk about requirements. And then after that, I will give you some basic stuff on the web service stuff development, because most of you never learned that before. Okay, so there are a lot of new things to learn. And then I'll ask everyone to pitch your ideas. And then we'll talk about some of the UI stuff. And then we'll get into the more important concept in software engineering, version control, build automation, how to run Scrum meeting, what is user story, how to do the test, unit test, and also integration test, and also how to measure your test. We'll talk about code review, and then we'll have the discussion on the deployment, okay? And then the continued integration, that's what Jamie asked. And then we'll spend some more time with Docker, because this thing here is going to be really popular right now, all right? And after we'll talk about some of the design principles. We'll cover more about this one in the 356 class. The 356 class is all about designs, all right? And then from there, we'll talk about clean code, and then how do you do the maintenance? And another important thing is the scalability. How can you make sure the software supports hundreds, thousands, and millions of users, okay? And then some of the cool topics left are the text-driven development. We'll talk about how do you run your demo, what do you do to publish it, and then we'll probably need to spend 1 or 1.5 weeks to do the demo, okay, guys? Keep in mind, your demo happens before the Thanksgiving, okay, not the last week, all right? Because I don't want you to do the last week, because we might running late, so we can't finish last week, and also I don't want you to just wait to the next week, the final week, because you get very busy. So the demo happens this week, okay? So that means you're done with your project. In other words, you're done with your course by this day here. All right, so that's a very important deadline. Okay, so you don't have 15 weeks to work on a project, you have about 13 weeks. And then you got a break here. And then last week, I normally use that one to talk more about careers stuff, because this will be more useful for you in the coming period of time. All right, so that's the syllabus. All right, okay, so that's pretty much what I want to share with you today. I talked a little bit too much about the whole industry because this time is very, very special. I do have more things to share about the course itself, but the goal number one right now is to actually get a team, okay? I'm gonna put this assignment for one. Let me see if this is the right assignments. Yep, so this one should be the right one. So I didn't update the course number, but I'll post this one as well to the whiteboard. We'll give you a little bit more time. The main thing for you to do right now is to form your team. This is the most important thing, okay? If you don't have a team, then nothing else you can do. And then you need to set up your GitHub, find a team name, and then create a GitHub organization, and then submit your username, everything to me, so that I know what's your GitHub account. All right. So assignment one is pretty easy, nothing to worry about. But the find a team is really, really important. All right. So I'm gonna stop here, guys. So before you go, so Jimmy, what do we have a GitHub? Sorry, the Discord thing ready? Okay. So what? How should we join? Okay. All right, guys. So I never use this one. Okay. So let's actually just join this link here. Jimmy sent a Discord.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so you just gotta click on the link and then you'll join the Discord server. So for organization, I was thinking we could split up into teams first and then create a text channel and a voice channel for each team. That's if you want to have one server for the entire class. Another option we could do is have one server per team, but then everyone would have to be responsible for making their own server.
Yeah, so I think we will make it really simple. Let's just have one for the whole class, and then we'll leave the sub team to the team to decide what to do.
All right, sounds good. And then I'll make you an admin. Then I'll guess if you pick team leaders, I'll make them admins as well, and then they each control like their own channel. I'm also not too familiar with Discord either, so if anyone else has a better idea, that's great too.
Yeah, I think I have a account. Log in first. Oh, so I'm already in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and claim the account, Jimmy. Does that mean that you're giving it to me?
I think that might be a temporary account. You'd have to sign up with like your email and stuff to actually create an account to actually join the server, probably. Okay. So it's probably just because you click on the link and you're in there temporarily. Got
it, but it doesn't ask me to log in. Yeah, but anyway, I'll figure out. Okay, thanks, Jimmy. All right, so yeah, I might reach you out for more information about this whole Discord because I know this is very popular. Yeah, so guys, use this one to try to communicate, find your way to form the team. Okay, team important. The earlier you get your team, the earlier you can move on to the idea, the earlier you can start to do the project. And also, I have to tell you that you will have much more time in the first half of the semester. Okay, that's the time you need to start to learn things, web service, web development, and then before you get too busy. All right. Okay, so I will still be online for at least another 30 minutes. Okay, feel free to stay if you have any questions about the course, about anything. And if you still need a waiting list, okay, email me. Okay, email me with your Bronco ID, and then I'll add you. Okay, I'll take whatever number. I don't mind. I can add it. I can add it, just everyone. All right. So I will post the first assignment very quickly. Okay. First assignment, and then next Tuesday we'll talk about other cool stuff. So for the project, okay, for the topic, we'll talk more about that on Tuesday. Actually, in fact, you were in summer, so it's basically same idea in the summer. Okay, it's about the problem. So no specific topic, but it's about the solving problem. Right. So I'm gonna download this thing. I think this will be more useful. Actually, Jimmy, are you also in the 356 class?
Yeah, I am.
Can you create another one for
Sure.
356? Actually, yeah. Actually, sorry, I take it back. That one probably not very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you do need to make your own account too. So
Okay.
maybe I'm trying to admin you right now.
Yeah, I have an account. Let me actually find it out.